The crisp morning air was a familiar companion to Freya as she clicked away on her laptop, immersed in the world of web design. The hum of the coffee machine and the gentle ticking of the clock formed a comforting background symphony. Her cozy house, a refuge from the demands of the outside world, was a testament to her hard-earned success as a freelance web designer. However, this tranquility shattered when the doorbell rang with an urgency that made Freya's heart skip a beat. Reluctantly, she answered the door, only to find her parents and sister standing there with luggage in hand, wearing expressions that suggested they had every intention of staying. "Mom, Dad, Sandy, what are you doing here?" Freya's voice wavered with a mix of confusion and concern. Sandy, her younger sister, flashed a rehearsed smile. "Surprise. We thought it was time for a family reunion. Your place is so much bigger, and the spare room is perfect for us." Freya's eyes widened, a sinking feeling settling in her stomach. "Reunion? This is my home, and I work here. You can't just decide to move in without asking." Her mother chimed in, "Oh dear, don't be silly. We're family. Besides, it's not like you're married or anything. You have all this space to yourself." Freya's objections fell on deaf ears as her family proceeded to discuss their plans as if the decision had already been made. The intrusion into her sanctuary left Freya grappling with a sense of helplessness, and she couldn't shake the feeling that her carefully crafted world was slipping through her fingers. As they settled into her home, Freya overheard snippets of their conversations. Her father mentioned renovations at their old house, and her mother seemed too eager to explore the spacious rooms. Sandy, always the opportunist, eyed the spare room as if it was her birthright. "Freya, we'll help you redecorate. This place could use some sprucing up," Sandy declared, making it clear that her definition of help meant taking control. Feeling cornered, Freya muttered to herself, "This is not what I signed up for." Little did she know that this unwelcome arrival would set off a chain of events that would redefine her relationships and force her to confront the challenges ahead. Freya's once serene home now echoed with the sounds of her family's unwarranted opinions. As she sat at her laptop, navigating through the complexities of web design, her concentration wavered under the weight of their constant scrutiny. "I just don't understand why you're not married yet, Freya," her mother remarked, peering over her shoulder at the screen. "A woman of your age should be settling down." Freya sighed, trying to maintain composure. "Mom, I've chosen a different path. I'm successful in my work, and marriage isn't a priority right now." Her father, glancing at her laptop screen with a puzzled expression, added, "This freelancing thing of yours, is it even a real job? Why don't you get a stable job like your sister? She's a responsible adult." Sandy, seated nearby with a condescending smirk, chimed in, "You know, Freya, a stable job provides stability. Maybe you wouldn't be alone if you had one." Freya bit her lip, feeling the sting of their judgment. "My work is legitimate, and I've built a successful career. It's not about being alone. It's about choosing a different lifestyle." But her family's disapproval persisted. They couldn't grasp the intricacies of freelancing in the digital world, dismissing it as a whimsical endeavor. As the days went by, the air in the house became increasingly tense. Family dinners turned into interrogations about Freya's life choices, and every comment about her single status felt like a dagger to her self-esteem. One evening, as Freya prepared dinner in the kitchen, her mother couldn't resist a passive-aggressive remark. "You know, if you were more like your sister, you'd have a family by now. She's doing everything right." Freya, chopping vegetables with forced precision, replied, "I'm proud of my choices, Mom. I've worked hard to be where I am." Sandy, overhearing the conversation, couldn't resist adding her 2 cents. "It's not too late to change, you know. You could still find a stable job, settle down, and stop living in this fantasy world." Freya, seething with frustration, muttered under her breath, "My world is not a fantasy. It's my reality. I wish you could understand that." The chapter concluded with Freya realizing that, despite her success and independence, her family's unwanted opinions had the power to shake her confidence. As the walls of her home closed in, Freya faced the challenge of asserting her identity amidst the constant barrage of judgment from those she thought should support her unconditionally. In the midst of familial tension, Freya decided she needed a companion to bring some joy and solace to her disrupted life. That's when Jack, a lively chihuahua with soulful eyes, entered the scene. Freya had always dreamed of having a canine companion, and Jack was the perfect addition to her isolated world. The first time Jack wagged his tiny tail, Freya felt a warmth she hadn't experienced in a long time. As she introduced him to her family, she anticipated resistance, especially from her sister Sandy, who had an opinion about everything. Upon seeing Jack, Sandy wrinkled her nose. "A dog, Freya? Really? What were you thinking?" Freya, cradling Jack in her arms, replied, "He's my little source of joy, Sandy. You might even like him if you give him a chance." Her mother, with a hint of disapproval, remarked, "Dogs can be messy, and they require a lot of attention. Are you sure you can handle it, especially with your freelancing work?" Freya, determined to stand her ground, smiled. "I've thought it through. Jack and I will be just fine." As days passed, Jack's charm started to work its magic. Freya's family, despite their initial reservations, found themselves captivated by his playful antics and affectionate nature. One evening, as they all sat in the living room, Jack curled up on Freya's lap. Sandy couldn't help but smile and cautiously reached out to pet him. "Okay, maybe he's not that bad." Freya chuckled. "Told you so." As Jack napped peacefully, Freya's father spoke up. "He's brought some life to this place, hasn't he?" Even her mother, unable to resist Jack's charm, admitted, "Maybe having a dog around isn't the worst thing." The atmosphere of the house shifted, if only momentarily, as Jack became a common point of joy for the family. They found themselves bonding over the little chihuahua, temporarily setting aside their differences. However, little did Freya know that Jack's presence would become a pivotal factor in the unfolding drama that awaited her in the chapters to come. As Jack, the adorable chihuahua, continued to frolic around the house, his charm worked like a balm on the strained relationships within Freya's family. His tiny paws and infectious energy seemed to soften the edges of the ongoing familial tensions. One afternoon, Freya found herself working diligently on her laptop in the living room. Jack nestled at her feet. Her mother approached, a hesitant smile on her face. "Freya, mind if I join you? I could use some company." Freya nodded, welcoming the unexpected camaraderie. "Of course, Mom. Have a seat." As her mother settled onto the couch, Jack hopped onto her lap, winning her over with his playful antics. "Well, aren't you a little ball of joy?" her mother cooed, scratching Jack behind the ears. Freya couldn't help but smile, witnessing the transformation. See, Jack has a way of bringing people together. Later that week, Sandy, who had initially been skeptical of Jack's presence, found herself chuckling as Jack chased his tail around the room. "Okay, I admit he's kind of cute," she confessed. Freya, seizing the opportunity, teased, "I told you so. He's a charmer." Even her father, usually immersed in his own world, seemed to appreciate the newfound energy in the house. "It's nice to have a little excitement around here. I guess Jack is growing on me." As Jack's charm offensive continued, Freya noticed a subtle shift in her family dynamics. The tension that had once permeated the air began to dissipate, replaced by shared smiles and laughter sparked by Jack's antics. One evening, as they gathered for dinner, Jack sat patiently by Freya's side, earning scraps of food and affection from each family member. Sandy couldn't help but gush. He's like a little entertainer. We should have gotten a dog sooner. Freya, feeling a sense of accomplishment, replied, maybe he's just what we needed to lighten the mood around here. However, amidst the newfound harmony, a storm was brewing. Little did Freya know that Jack's presence, initially a source of joy, would become a crucial element in the unfolding drama that awaited her in the chapters to come. The fragile peace in Freya's household, brought about by Jack's charm, teetered on the edge of collapse. One fateful evening, as Freya prepared dinner in the kitchen, the tranquility shattered with the sound of shattering glass. The source of the commotion was none other than Jack, who had knocked over a vase in his playful pursuit of a wayward toy. Freya rushed into the room, only to find Sandy holding her favorite blouse, now stained and soaked in water. Sandy's eyes narrowed with anger. Freya, look what your stupid dog did. This was an expensive blouse, and now it's ruined. Freya, her patience wearing thin, retorted, Sandy, accidents happen. I'll replace the blouse, but don't blame Jack. Sandy, gripping the ruined blouse, snapped, you can't just let him destroy things. This is ridiculous. I demand compensation for this. Freya's parents, drawn by the commotion, entered the scene. Her father sighed. What's going on here? Sandy, holding up the damaged blouse, exclaimed, Dad, Freya's dog ruined my favorite blouse. She needs to pay for it. Freya, feeling unfairly attacked, defended herself. I already said I'll replace it, but Jack is not to blame. He's just a puppy. However, Sandy's frustration escalated. Puppy or not, your negligence is costing me money. You're always defending that stupid dog of yours. Freya's mother chimed in, maybe getting a dog wasn't such a good idea after all. It's causing more trouble than it's worth. The tension in the room thickened as accusations flew. Freya, feeling cornered, tried to reason with her family. Can we not turn this into a big issue? I'll buy Sandy a new blouse, and we'll move on. But Sandy, unwilling to let go, insisted, it's not just about the blouse, Freya. This dog of yours is becoming a problem. If you can't control him, maybe you should reconsider having him in the house. Freya's frustration reached a boiling point. I won't reconsider anything. Jack is part of my life, and I won't let you turn him into a scapegoat for your dissatisfaction. Sandy, unmoved, declared, well, I've had enough. If you won't do something about this, then maybe it's time you and your dog find somewhere else to live. The room fell silent, the weight of Sandy's words hanging in the air. Freya, realizing that this was the breaking point, found herself standing on the precipice of a decision that would alter the course of her relationship with her family. The tension following the incident with Jack lingered in Freya's household, and the atmosphere became increasingly strained. Unable to bear the growing animosity, Freya decided it was time to reveal a secret she had kept hidden from her family: the true ownership of the house. One evening, as her family gathered in the living room, Freya took a deep breath, mustering the courage to disclose her revelation. She faced them with a determined look, the weight of her decision evident in her eyes. Family, we need to talk, Freya began, her voice steady. I haven't been completely honest with you. This house, the one we're all living in, officially belongs to me. Her parents exchanged surprised glances, and Sandy, seemingly unfazed, crossed her arms. What are you talking about, Freya? This has been our family home for ages. Freya continued, It was given to me by Uncle, Dad's brother, a month ago. The title is in my name, and I have the legal right to do whatever I want with it. Her father, bewildered, stammered, But we moved in here because our old house needed renovations. Your uncle said it's a family home. Freya sighed. Dad, Uncle wanted me to have a place of my own. I've been letting you all stay here out of a sense of obligation, but it's time you understand the truth. Sandy scoffed. So, you're just going to kick us out after everything we've been through? Freya shot back. No, Sandy, I'm not kicking you out. I've decided to sell the house. It's time for all of us to move on. Her mother, wide-eyed, interjected, Sell the house? But where will we go? This has been our home for years. Freya, resolute, explained, I can't continue living like this. The constant criticism, the disputes, this is not the life I want. You all need to find a place where you can rebuild your lives, and I need to find my peace. Her revelation hung in the air, and the room fell silent. The news was a shock to her family, who had assumed a sense of permanence in the house. Freya's decision to sell it left them grappling with uncertainty. Sandy, irritated, retorted, You can't just decide this on your own, Freya. What about us? Freya, maintaining her composure, replied, I've shouldered the burden of this house for too long. It's time for each of us to find our own way. As the weight of Freya's revelation sank in, the family faced the reality that the home they had believed to be theirs was slipping away. The upcoming sale would be a turning point, forcing them to confront the consequences of their actions and forcing Freya to assert her autonomy in a way she had never imagined. Freya's revelation about selling the house left the once familiar living room fraught with tension. The air thickened as her family grappled with the realization that the ground beneath them was no longer as stable as they thought. Her father, still processing the news, questioned, Sell the house? Freya, we've lived here for so long. Where will we go? Freya, maintaining her resolve, replied, Dad, it's time for all of us to move on. I've been supporting this house, and it's time for a fresh start. Sandy, arms crossed, chimed in, And what about me? You can't just decide to sell everything without considering how it affects us. Freya, tired of the constant conflict, responded, Sandy, you've made it clear that you don't want me here. Selling the house is the best solution for everyone. You can find a place that suits your needs, and I can finally have the peace I've been missing. Her mother, torn between understanding and disappointment, pleaded, Freya, this is our home. Can't we find another solution? Maybe we can work this out together. Freya, recognizing her mother's distress, softened her tone. Mom, I've tried to make this work, but it's not healthy for any of us. Selling the house will give each of us a chance to find a place that truly feels like home. The room fell into a heavy silence as the weight of Freya's decision settled. The walls that once contained their shared memories now seemed to echo with the impending change. The family faced the stark reality that the place they considered their sanctuary was slipping away. In the midst of the somber atmosphere, Jack, sensing the tension, approached Freya with a comforting nudge. Freya looked down at him and whispered, We'll find a new home, Jack. One where we can be happy without constant conflict. As the family navigated the complexities of the impending sale, each member contemplated the future that awaited them outside the familiar walls of the house. Freya's decision was a turning point, forcing them to confront the consequences of their actions and find a way forward in a world that was about to change. The decision to sell the house triggered a cascade of emotions that reverberated through Freya's family. As the news settled, a palpable tension filled the rooms, and conversations became strained with the weight of impending change. One evening, the family gathered to discuss the logistics of the sale. Freya sat at the center, determined but also burdened by the responsibility of appending their lives. Her father, struggling to come to terms with the situation, broke the silence. Freya, are you sure there's no other way? Selling the house feels like we're losing everything. Freya sighed. Dad, I've considered every option. This is the best way for each of us to find our own paths. We'll have a chance for a fresh start." Sandy, resentment in her voice, added, "So you get to decide what's best for all of us?" "We have no say in this." Freya, holding her ground, replied, "I've been the one supporting this house for years. Now it's time for everyone to take responsibility for their own lives." Her mother, caught in the crossfire, attempted to mediate. "Let's try to find a compromise. Maybe we can all contribute to the expenses and keep the house." Freya, with a tired expression, countered, "It's not just about the expenses, Mom. The constant tension, the conflicts, it's toxic for all of us. Selling the house is a chance for a clean slate." The discussion turned into a heated exchange as each family member grappled with their own fears and uncertainties. The impending fallout felt like a storm gathering strength, and Jack, sensing the rising tension, whimpered softly. As the argument reached its peak, Freya, her patience waning, declared, "Enough. We can't keep going in circles. I've made up my mind. The house will be sold, and we'll all have to find new beginnings." Her family, stunned by the finality of her words, sat in a heavy silence. The decision to sell the house had become a catalyst for a family fallout, and the aftermath would force each member to confront their own choices and uncertainties. The chapter concluded with a sense of inevitability, leaving the family on the brink of a new chapter, uncertain of what awaited them beyond the familiar walls of the house that had been both their sanctuary and their battleground. The dawn of new beginnings cast a bittersweet light over Freya's household. The decision to sell the house had been made, and the family found themselves navigating uncharted territory, each member grappling with the reality of imminent change. As moving boxes cluttered the living room, the family members moved through the house, reminiscing about the memories embedded in every corner. Sandy, a tinge of regret in her voice, remarked, "I never thought it would come to this. This house was supposed to be ours." Freya, packing away belongings, replied, "It's time for all of us to find our own spaces, Sandy. This isn't the end. It's a chance for a fresh start." Her mother, surveying the now sparsely decorated rooms, sighed, "It's hard to believe we're leaving, but maybe change is what we need." Freya, acknowledging the difficulty of the moment, said, "Change is never easy, but it's necessary for growth. We'll each find our own path and hopefully a place where we can be happy." Jack, sensing the melancholy in the air, nuzzled against Freya's leg, providing a silent source of comfort. As the family prepared to leave, Freya's father, his voice tinged with nostalgia, spoke up, "I never imagined saying goodbye to this house, but I suppose it's time for a new chapter." Freya, offering a reassuring smile, replied, "New beginnings await us, Dad. We'll create new memories in new places." The final walk through the empty rooms marked the end of an era for the family. Freya turned the key in the front door for the last time, locking away the echoes of the past. As they stepped into the unknown, Freya couldn't help but feel a mix of sadness and anticipation. The chapter concluded with the family standing in front of the now vacant house, its walls holding the echoes of their shared history. Each member carried their own dreams, fears, and hopes for the future, and as they embarked on separate journeys, the promise of new beginnings lingered in the air, a chance to redefine themselves outside the confines of the house that had been both a sanctuary and a battleground.